Hi, Miranda. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you. It's a pretty wild time in the world right now. Have you been doing through it all?
Mixed bag. In the beginning, it wasn't terrible. I remember saying at one point in April, I don't hate this. The weather was good, and I was just outside with my kids a lot. May, things started to deteriorate. It's been a lot of highs and lows. The clinic I was at for 9 years also shut down in April. So then there was a big shift to starting a new business while homeschooling a kindergartner, raising a toddler. Like it just, everything sort of happened at once. And so there's been some struggles. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's super tough.
How about you guys? You doing okay?
We're doing okay.
Yeah, doing great. Lots of amazing support through all these things, and lots of appreciation from the customers. It's been
excellent.
Really
excellent.
Nice to see.
Good.
Yeah, it's been the best. You've been a naturopath for some time now. What got you into it? What made you decide you wanted to be a naturopath?
Yeah, it was just sort of a very organic development. I got sick when I was 11. I was given the wrong antibiotic for my strep throat. It was one that my mom looked at it and went, I thought Miranda was allergic to that, but you don't question the doctor. At least you didn't in the 80s. And I ended up with rheumatic fever and a heart murmur and juvenile rheumatoid arthritis. And it was just this, a bit of a storm. And then, so I was the kid who worked in the library when all my classmates did gym class. I was like a bit immobile from the waist down.
Oh, wow.
And there was one summer as I was healing, all my friends were away at camp. And I was literally just sitting at home watching TV. I was bored. I had no one to hang out with. And my dad went to our local health food store where we'd been shopping for years and saw a part-time help wanted sign, talked to the owner. He's like, yeah, I know her. Sure. I've been shopping here since you guys were 8. So bring her in. So I started working there. And so I was 13 years old, and I'm not very good at saying I don't know. So customers would ask me a question. I'm like, come back tomorrow. And it was luckily like right next door to a library. So I'd go and find out the answers. And this is what evening primrose oil does. Like, what about zinc? Come back tomorrow. So I learned really sort of naturally about what it was. And then by 14, I knew I wanted to do naturopathic medicine. And every Christmas, my parents gave me books on herbs and vitamins. And I just learned as I went. And then did the official schooling and graduated from that, 10, 11 years ago.
Amazing.
Yeah.
One of the things we want to, like, just with all the stuff going around COVID and kind of coming into the fall season is it seems like there's been so much talk of, okay, well, how do we protect ourselves? And that portion of the immune system, one thing we want to talk to you about is the immune system and can you describe like what does it do?
Yeah, I mean, it's everyone's sort of favorite topic right now. It was, we knew that it was there, and you get colds and stuff, but now it's really like in the limelight. An analogy I often use with patients is if you think of a cityscape or a street and there's a car accident, we have that initial trauma, that injury, and then the immune system are like the paramedics, the police officers, the fire engine, everyone's sort of coming to that scene of trauma and dealing with it. What actually has to be done? Let's get people to the hospital if necessary. And then other layers of the immune system are the ones that are sweeping up the broken glass, clearing away the damage. And if that doesn't happen, then there's always going to be that congestion, that roadblock, that damage, that part of the city, or that damage to, that part of the body where there was that injury. So we want to make sure all the debris is cleared up so that there isn't that like smoldering chronic inflammation. We need the immune system to come in, deal with what was damaged, or whatever the infection is. Let's say it was an alien invasion instead, and then deal with that. Once it's cleared away, then we really need to get things running back smoothly, back the way it should be, restoring function.
Nice. So what is, like we hear about like immune boosting, things to boost immune system. There's certain scenarios where people's immune system now is like overacting or what, can you talk about like, what is that?
For sure.
What's the difference between that? What do we want?
There's times, you want to boost it up because there's so much variety to the immune system. So really just kind of lumping it all in like, this is what it does. There's so many different types of cells within, and they all have their own specialized roles and techniques. So some of them are there to look at the infection, to bring in the antibodies, to label the damaged cells. Some are then going in and gobbling up those infected cells or killing things off. Some are on the restoring function, reducing inflammation side of things. They all have their different part to play. There's times when, we need to ramp up. You feel, your tonsils getting swollen, that kind of lumpy feeling, you're fighting something. Because that's when we really do want to bolster up the immune system, help it create antibodies, help it fight against that infection. There's times when, our immune system, as you say, has kind of gone a bit awry. So it could either be allergies, where it's like pollen, okay, and it mounts this huge response, and it's unnecessary. Pollen is, a benign material. So we want to cool down those people's inflammatory process and their immune reaction. And then there's times when the immune system actually attacks our own cells. We end up with an autoimmune condition. So we definitely don't want to be ramping up certain arms of the immune system in cases where there's allergies or autoimmune disorders. We want to be cooling it down while still being able to fight infection and, protect ourselves from the pathogens in the outside world. So there's times we're ramping it up, there's times we're cooling it down, and there's times we want to do both. So we call it immunomodulating. We want to, help it be more effective without having it go overboard and be overreactive or, create more problems while it's fighting off the damage or the infection.
Nice. I remember like a long time ago or a while ago, you were in the store and we were talking all about like good bacteria and all these things and the microbiome and I think at one point when we were talking about bacteria, you had actually said is like, at this point with the knowledge we have, it's like when you go use that public washroom, I think you had said something like, I know that I should be like actually touching the door handle, not using the paper towel to do it, because we want to inoculate ourselves with that good bacteria. Is that, how do you still feel?
No, I'm gonna change my stance on that one.
Yeah.
I don't remember having that conversation. So I was interested in like, did I? The bulk of our microbiome is healthy, working with us. We're good hosts. We're giving it a nice steady temperature, regular fuel, hydration, like keeping it all going. But certainly there are pathogens, and waste is waste. It's our body's way of eliminating what we do not want. So yes, we definitely want to be washing our hands and not touching doorknobs and railings or anything else public-y. I'm also wondering like when that conversation was, and if it was before or after I had my son, because he was premature. He spent a couple months in the NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. And that was a crash course in immune function. It wasn't just, washing your hands, you're scrubbing up to your elbows every time you go in.
Right.
And, anything drops on the floor, oops, I dropped the diaper. And the nurse is like, okay, that's gone. It's in the garbage. Like we're not risking any infection with these teeny tiny, weak little things. And if you got a cold, you didn't get to visit your child. So the immune paradigm was very, very strong there. That said, I mean, we know through this hygiene hypothesis of the kids who grow up on the farmyards and are interacting with animals and a variety of flora and fauna tend to have much lower incidences of asthma and allergies and that overreactive immune system that we see in kids who kind of grew up maybe in the Lysol generation when everything's being disinfected in the world around us. We want to have exposure to like clean dirt, like good, clean, wholesome, get outside in nature, touch the spores and the fungi and, be involved with that sort of bigger microbiome. But first thing we do, we walk in, we take off our shoes, everyone washes their hands. It's a very necessary part of our immune development.
Yeah, probably not so much the city or, city washrooms and all that, but probably more so expose yourself to natural environments and interact with those.
Our immune system needs to be engaged. Like we don't, nowhere in our world is sterile. We're always, having that little bit of signal coming in from, the microbes in the world around us. So we don't want it to just become stagnant and bored and possibly then overreactive later. But even just a week or two ago, I saw somebody like sneeze and then push the bleep bloop to cross the road. I'm like, really? Because ever since the NICU, I pushed that sucker with my elbow.
Yeah.
And it's fun because my daughter's 2 and I watched her today. We went in the elevator to do school pickup and she pushed the button with the back of her wrist. I'm like, kids are learning.
Yeah.
You've taught her well.
Yeah. I haven't even taught her. She's just, they're little mimics. They're like, oh, this is how we push buttons. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We want to keep our hands clean.
Love it. So can you talk a little bit about like prevention protocols for immune system versus like treatment protocols?
Sure. Prevention, it's all, the good stuff that keeps us healthy. Prevention of heart disease is not that different from prevention of a cold. I don't think we need to get outside. We want to have, fresh air, sunlight, the things that we evolved with. We need adequate sleep. And that tends to be one that some people, there's sort of like two parts of the population in the bad sleep world. Some are like, whatever, it's boring. I'll sleep when I die kind of thing. There's too many things. I'd rather stay up late watching something on Netflix. And then the other people are like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I want to sleep, but the monkey brain doesn't shut down. So either we need to prioritize it more, or we need to find ways to actually help that body learn how to sleep. But sleep is super important. Nutrition, right? We have to eat well. You can't just pass through the drive-through every day and hope to have a healthy immune system and a healthy, cardiovascular system and brain function, nervous system, everything for the rest of life. Joy, love, laughter, fun. I mean, that I think is also one of the biggest casualties of COVID right now is people are scared, and the fear is a big negative impact then on our immune system. So it was lovely hearing you, Tyler, saying, you got that great support system around you, and it has its challenges, but I think there's a lot of opportunities for growth and reaching out. And it was nice when everything really started flaring up in the spring, of seeing the news focusing on like the random acts of kindness and the good Samaritans, and I'm going to go shopping for the elderly, and that sort of shift, as opposed to just being in this fear lockdown paradigm. Attitude, setting an attitude of gratitude, journaling, whatever that may be. Sweating, if you can fit in a sauna, or just take a super hot bath, or go for anything that exercises, that moves things around. So a lot of the basics. That said, a kid in the NICU, when you get sick and you don't get to see a rid, I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't eating well, there was no exercise, it was full fear all the time. So that's when you lean a little bit more heavily on the supplements. And, and since I can't get sleep, I'm just gonna take a little extra vitamin C, some more zinc, make sure my vitamin D is up, and just, you can duct tape it a little bit with the nutrients if you aren't able to walk the walk. But we do want to get back to that place of living life and doing things properly. In terms of treatment, it kind of depends on how it's manifesting in the system. Generally, again, rest. And that is what I'm hoping is going to be one of the positives to come out of this COVID craziness, is this, I forget if it was Tylenol or Advil, but someone had a commercial of, someone snowboarding or skiing down the slope saying, if you think a cold's going to stop me, you don't know me, you don't know whatever that medicine was. And I'm like, but you're sick. Like, your body is telling you want to rest. There's a reason that you're tired and you just want to have a blanket and some hot tea and watch something. So I think we need to honor that when we're ill, we do need to stay home from work and rest it out and heal up and hydrate and nourish ourselves. Nutrients, herbs, it kind of depends on how it's manifesting. Is it snotty? Is it bladder? Is it cough? And then we just treat accordingly.
Yes.
You mentioned just like stress and the effect that stress has on all of us. So it's a pretty stressful time for most people. What effect does that have on the immune system, and how are those correlated?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it has some actual direct studied, researched effects where we see higher levels of stress when we see lower levels of T cells. So one particular subset of our immune system that is there to sort of remember previous infections and help fight against things and modulate immune function. So we don't want to have stress up, immune cells down. We also know when our immune system, when our sugar levels go up, we push our immune system down. When people are stressed, they might be turning more to comfort foods, a bit more alcohol, a bit more, treats to just help them get through this. And that can have a very direct negative effect on immune health. When we're stressed, our cortisol levels can fluctuate. So cortisol is a hormone secreted by our adrenals. It's there for our stress response. But one of its jobs is to squash the immune system down, because if you're about to get eaten by a bear, you don't need to be fighting that virus. You need to direct all of your energy and attention into surviving that moment. Then then you can go back and start dealing with those infectious agents. So we know that if cortisol's up, immune system is down, and it's even used in medicine. If you have a hyperinflammatory system, they're going to put you on some sort of corticosteroid. So either a steroid cream for your rash just to cool that inflammation down, or an inhaler, or popping it for something, if you've got inflammation in your joints. So we know that affects. So if you've got that high cortisol, you're going to have lower white blood cell and lower immune function there. So yeah, it's a big part. I don't think we can talk about, and it's holistic medicine, right? I don't think we can talk about supporting immune function without looking at how supported someone is feeling emotionally, how they're sleeping, how they're eating, are they hydrated, are they exercising? It's all connecting to each other. Yeah, stress has a direct effect and an indirect effect.
What are your favorite foods, would you say, to support immune but also stress for people?
For prevention, your good, wholesome, whole foods diet. You want, focus on produce, so fruits and veggies. And this is the time of year, I can't handle the thought of a salad, but roasted veggies are in, soups are in, stews, curries. A lot of curries going on right now, very mild because of the kids. Then my husband and I get to add our own warming things. But also it's looking at the yin yang of the seasons. We're going into colder temperatures and longer nights. And that's when you want to have more warmth and bring that into your diet. Whereas in the summer, when everything's hot, that's when you want the cold, the crispy, the chilled vegetables, the cucumber and the iceberg that are going to, bring in that yin to balance out the yang. So right now it's a lot of very sort of warming foods, focusing on the produce, whole grains if you eat them, good quality animal meats if you eat them. But just as unrefined as possible, kind of standard stuff. And then when you get sick, more heat. Bring in the curries and the spices and the ginger and the chili, and help that nose to run and sweat it out. Bring in the sweat.
Nice. So like with that change in season, is there certain supplements that you would, suggest going into this kind of colder time of the year?
Yeah, normally yes, but this year that all kind of started in the spring. It was okay. Well, let's really ensure that we've got the vitamin C. Farmers market, great, but let's take supplemental vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D were the big ones for my house and my family. And there's still I've got my medicine cupboards, but those are the ones that are on the counter. Yeah. And I even have them in gummy forms for my kids. So my son, every day in his lunchbox, his dessert is, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C, probiotics, fish oil, a multi, calcium, magnesium. He gets his gummies, but then I know we're bolstering him up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Lucky kid.
Yeah.
Great dessert. I would take that.
Yeah. He's happy. He thinks it's a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Can you describe what the difference between a common the difference between a cold and flu is?
They're totally different viruses. So at the molecular level, it's a completely different beast in terms of, you don't know, you can't see what you're being infected by. But the expression is a cold generally. I mean, even within the colds, the rhinovirus is your classic common cold. Rhino meaning nose. You just got the runny nose, maybe a bit of postnasal drip. So you maybe have a bit of sore throat and phlegm at the back. Malaise, you just don't feel well. So some of the chemicals that are engaged in our immune system and sending signals to each other have an effect on our mental emotional state. So they're cytokines. They're little chemical messengers, emails being sent back and forth from immune cells. And some of them tell the brain, okay, you're a bit depressed. You're oh, I'm sick now. Some of them might make you a bit more anxious of oh no, I can't get sick right now. Oh, I can't. Oh no, I can't be having this tickle in my throat wrong time. Some might make you a bit more aggressive, which is a good way of keeping other people away and kind of stopping that infection chain. Where was I going before that? So that was the cold. With the flu, generally there's a fever. Keeping in mind that young people spike fevers very easily. It's this big, they've got all that energy. They're just going to get all hot, burn it off, and then get their antibodies and move on. Elderly people can be rampant with infection and not see a change in temperature. Their inner fire just isn't stoked enough. So, but generally with a flu, we're going to see a fever, more of overall pain, the sensitivity of, oh my God, my skin hurts, my hair hurts, everything, just that overall achiness tends to come up more with the flu. There can still be all the symptoms of a cold, the runny nose, the sore throat, the headache. And then there's even like the bad colds, so respiratory syncytial virus or RSV, when people are like, I had a cold, I think it might have been the flu. And like, well, you didn't have the fever and you didn't have the body aches. It was just, that was the bad cold virus. So there's a wide range in the virome of things that are going to infect us.
And would there be different protocols then? Like if you're getting those specific cold kind of symptoms versus viral symptoms for
Not
treating
necessarily.
it?
Not necessarily. I mean, I'm going to come down to lots of rest, lots of sweat, lots of fluids, good nutrition. The saying that for my mom was growing up was, starve a fever, feed a cold. So, you know, when you have that fever, generally people are like, oh, you know, just that little bit of tea, that warmth, keeping it up, but letting all of your resources go to fighting the infection rather than actually digestion.
Right.
Whereas with a cold, you might want more soups and nourishment and, you know, peel me a grape and let's, you know, get over this thing. And you know, just, I'm wounded. So, but also just kind of like trust your body. If you don't feel like eating, don't eat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there any
but otherwise it's just overall virus support, immune support.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you can say, Lynn?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Are there any go-to supplements that you find that you would go to when you have a cold?
Yeah, I mean, the nutrients will probably ramp up. So we burn through vitamin C faster when we're fighting an infection. So a lot of people may have maybe not a lot, but some people have experimented with, well, if a little bit of vitamin C is good for me, then more is better. And we hit something called bowel tolerance. So you know you've had too much vitamin C when you hit the loose stools. If you have a cold or a flu, you can push it. You start taking more and you're like, no, my body's just sucking this up and there's nothing happening in my digestion. And then, you know, say you're taking 8 tablets a day or whatever, as your immune system, as you start to get over that viral thing, you're like, oh, now it's starting to feel a bit loose. And is that a symptom of the illness or is it too much vitamin C? And you pull back. So as you heal, your demand for it might then drop again, or should drop back down to baseline. That's often too where I'm going more for, you know, the nutrition is going to stay fairly the same, maybe ramp up the levels a bit, but a lot more of the herbs coming in at that point. So things that are going to be antiviral and antibacterial. The virus, you know, that'll cause the tickle in the throat, but then we have bacteria in and on us. We have that damaged system where, you know, some of the tissue has now been wounded and the bacteria is going, cool, I got this going on there. And I'm going to start taking advantage of this immune system that's all distracted. So it can start as a cold and then progress to a bacterial infection. So bringing in anything antimicrobial that's going to nip that virus and ward off the subsequent bacterial infection would be helpful. So yeah, that made a lot more
specific. Is there specific herbs that?
There's so, I mean, this is like, one day I'm gonna have to show a picture of my cupboard.
Yeah.
A toolbox marked immune. I just said there's just, I'm like, because I would forget about things. So I'm like, I just need to have everything together and then I can rifle through what we need. Oil of oregano tends to come up. I personally don't like it. So I have to put like a couple drops in soup to get through it. My mom's just like, look, she has no problem swallowing it down. So you find your limit there. With kids, it can be tricky. But I find if I put it in like mashed up avocado, I can also then hide some garlic in there and give them like a guac.
Nice.
Then that's a good way of sneaking the oregano into them, but it has to be low dose. They just won't do it. What a great idea. Yeah. You have to get creative with the kids. You're like, you need this. Like, taste that. It's a good expectorant as well. So if there is a cough, if there is phlegm, oregano is a nice one for helping to bring things out. I do a lot of mushrooms. So reishi generally every day for prevention. And then there are some blends that I'll use for myself, my family, if the infection's actually like taking hold. So if one person gets sick, we're all taking more medicinal mushrooms. Elderberry, echinacea, ginger. What else? It's been a while because of the lockdown. It's been a while since anyone actually got genuinely sick. So
that's the best.
Turmeric. There's lots to choose from.
Nice. With the mushrooms, when like there's so many different variety of mushrooms, and then there's quite a few different blends available. Is that what you think of as like the individual mushroom, or like reishi in this case, more like daily support, and then when do you start going into the blends of mushrooms, or when it's advantageous?
With symptoms? So reishi for me is just kind of a standard. This is You know, it helps with stress response. It helps with immune response. It's directly antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, anti-candida. It's anti-inflammatory. It's antihistamine. It's nerve supporting, kidney supporting. Like you can't go wrong. If you don't know what else to do, reishi's, unless you're allergic to mushrooms, it's just a wonderful choice. Starting to feel any sort of thing in the chest, I'll maybe turn more to like chaga, which is good for any sort of epithelial or outer tissue. Cordyceps if there's tiredness or like the high stress, low energy thing. And then can we go into like specific brands and products?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, like how do you determine?
Yeah, so then Stamets 7 is a little bit more like if someone's getting sick, we want to bring in that blend of 7 mushrooms from Host Defense, the Stamets 7. And then I never, ever, ever run out of my community, which is a blend of 17 mushrooms. That's the big guns. We start getting sick and we're all popping the my community. The capsules open up. They don't taste like anything. It tastes like rice cereal. It's just grown on brown rice. So super easy to give to kids. Either I would like slide it into soup or applesauce, or if you can sprinkle it on nut butter, they just don't notice. It does come in a liquid as well with the alcohol, but my kids can be a little bit picky about tinctures. Although it's not a bad tasting tincture. It's just they don't like alcohol because they're little. So yeah, I tend to stick with the capsules and just go lower dose there. But the my community is something it's always in the cupboard. Get anxious about running low on that one because it's so helpful in getting everything cleared out of the system.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your kids are pretty little. How much do you give them?
The general guideline for herbs is something called Clark's rule, where you go by, everything you guys have on your shelf. That dose that's on the label is based on a 150-pound adult, which is considered to be sort of the average size. So if I look at my son is probably about 40 pounds right now, so I'd give him maybe a quarter dose. My daughter's, 30 pounds at this point. She's growing fast, so I'd probably still just do a quarter. Yeah, but then if I figure maybe I would take 2 capsules, maybe I would give them half. It also kind of depends how sick we are. Is it just a little sniffle? Maybe ramp up the dose if things are progressing. We're all actually getting ill versus nipping it in the bud and then we can tone down. But yeah, you don't need to divide the adult dose based on the weight of your child or the child.
Nice, that's great.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you're giving them?
The nutrients are the day-to-day thing. The herbs really only come in if we're fighting something. Yeah, probiotics are also the standard for immune function. Yeah, and they're easy. Again, they don't taste like anything. You can open up the capsules. There's plenty of brands that make, flavored ones. Like Renew Life has good chewy ones or little sachets that you can swallow down, but you can just open up any capsule. They're going to be fine.
Nice. We've heard you talk a lot about Manuka Honey.
Oh.
Yeah. Can you describe like what it is and how to determine what a good Manuka Honey is?
Yeah. So it's the other thing I don't run out of. There's a few things where you're like, oh, no, I'll get that one next time I'm at the store. And other times I'm like, okay, no, I got to get that now because I'm at the third of a bottle. Manuka Honey is one I never run out of. I stick to one that's, I think it's about 263 MGO. So the MGO is methyl glyoxal, which is the active ingredient. It's in every honey, but it's about 100 times stronger in Manuka honeys. And it's just that the bees in that region of New Zealand are feeding or pollinating from the blossoms of the Manuka tree, which is closely related to tea tree. And we use tea tree as a topical antimicrobial. And so it concentrates that MGO into their honey. And you can get more concentrated ones as well. They just become a bit pricey. So the one that's about $250, $265, I find works well for me. It's also a very easy medicine to give to kids. So like, here's your half teaspoon. They're happy to get that down. So you could smear it on some toast, but generally on a spoon then becomes their treat for being sick. So it's bringing in, so the MGO is what's been shown to be the antibacterial effect. All honey actually contains a little bit of hydrogen peroxide as well. So that's a good way of, if you don't have Manuka, any unpasteurized honey will bring a little bit of antimicrobial effects in through the hydrogen peroxide. But you just want to balance it out with you want to get more bang for your buck, more MGO for less sugar. So you can get away with a half teaspoon with a lot of stuff, or a full teaspoon if you're an adult or more. The only caution there, if I do it for my husband or myself, typically we would make like the nice hot drink, the lemon, and then put the honey in. And now I don't let it go quite as hot because I don't want the heat to damage the MGO. I don't know if it does. but just err on the side of caution. So I'll have that a little bit more tempered on the heat just to keep it active. Yeah, it's lovely, lovely medicine. Good one to have on hand.
Nice.
Oh, go ahead. I love all your suggestions for your kids. That's super helpful because I think a lot of moms out there don't know what they can give their kids or what they're gonna like because they kind of change all the time.
And there's a lot of things at the drugstore. I mean, you just can't.
Yeah.
You cannot give your kid cough syrup. You cannot give your kid, well, I mean, yeah, you can do Tylenol, but I mean, there's so many good options out there. If it's food-based and the kid likes the taste of it, then yeah, it's easy. But letting them stay home and rest is a big one.
Yeah. Do you have any suggestions for like expecting moms or nursing moms?
Yeah, that's where you want to stay more with the nutrients, right? It's hard to go wrong with zinc and vitamin C. Vitamin D is fat soluble. Maybe, check your blood levels to know that you're dosing correctly. Herbs are trickier in pregnancy. Generally, we want to use the safest herb for the lowest dose that will get the job done for the shortest period of time that will get the job done, and then take it away. So we don't use unnecessary herbs in pregnancy, but there are a lot that are absolutely fine to use in pregnancy. Just work with someone who is knowledgeable in that area and can reference what they're saying and back up that, yes, you can do this one for a week or two and whatever is necessary to get that job done. Because especially if you're pregnant with your second or third child and you've got someone else bringing germs home from preschool or daycare, right? Moms are up against it. You're not necessarily sleeping well, yeah. But the nutrients, it's hard to go wrong with the nutrients. Good, wholesome diet. Try to sleep.
Do you ever go, or what's your general suggestion with vitamin D for dosing?
Legally, I think all I can say is 1,000.
It's 1,000, yeah.
Yeah. If I have blood levels in front of me, then I have a bit more flexibility to justify, well, I put this one on a higher dose because of this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if I don't know if for like the general public, if I could say anything more than 1,000, because that's what
the
guideline is.
Take one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if you're my patient, I might put you on higher dose if I think that it's necessary or I see that it's necessary.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Nice. With the, like, all the concerns around viruses and all that, is there top 3 things that you would say, like, you should be doing this to make sure that you're staying well during the time where the viruses are so prevalent or so top of mind?
Okay. Top 3 lifestyle, top 3 nutrition, top 3 herbs, or just, it's going to be hard to come up with 3.
Yeah.
Sleep, I think, is huge. It's been so underrated, and like just resting when you're ill. It was really frustrating. Last year my son was in kindergarten. We'd be walking to school, run into other kids, and they're hacking up a cough. And well, I know that they feel fine, they have lots of energy. I'm like, but they need to stay home and rest more. You need to just, as frustrating as it can be as the kid starts healing and bouncing off the walls, let's keep our germs to ourselves as much as possible. So I'm hoping that's one of the positives that comes out of this experience, is that we do get better at, like, it's totally fine now to work from home. A year ago, that was not cool, and not, employers wouldn't allow it. Now it's encouraged. So yeah, rest, vitamin C, it's inexpensive, right? There's some of the herbs can get expensive, but vitamin C, I think anyone can access it pretty easily. Probiotics, digestion and immune. If you have a poor digestion or a wonky microbiome, then you're going to have a harder time regulating your immune system. Reishi. Yeah, I'm not counting to 3 anymore. I'm just going to keep listening.
Yeah.
Sweat, sauna, hot bath, exercise. Yeah, bundle up. But yeah, sweating is a good way of discharging.
I heard you recommend or talk about it was like one of the cold sock tricks or something like that.
Oh, warming socks.
Yeah, could you describe that?
Sure. I'm pretty sure I also have it on my website if you want like a PDF handout. Yeah, it sounds weird, but you want the body to be nice and warm. So either, again, that hot bath, or the very least a warm hot foot bath. So if your feet are cold from feeling the cold or the flu or whatever you're up against, not the time to do it. So you want your nice internal heat. Then thin cotton socks, run them under cold water, wring them out well. The 2 places you can go wrong is if you do this with cold feet to begin with, and if the socks are really like soaky and sodden, so wring them out well. And then warm 100% wool or fleece socks that are going to go over top of those cold, wet socks. If you want to be super hardcore, you can rinse out the cold socks, put them in the fridge or the freezer, then go take your hot bath, then come out, put on the super cold socks, warm woolen socks over top, and then off to bed. And usually at some point in the night, your feet are hot and dry and you're kicking them off. But it's great for just moving lymphatics. So our immune system, like its highway circuitry is the lymph system. So if you get the lymph just moving down and going down to like, I got to warm up those feet again because I feel the cold, but the circulation is already good. We've opened up those doors by having a good core body temperature to begin with. Then eventually, the socks are really kicking them off in the middle of the night and having nice warm feet, but great for pulling congestion out of the upper respiratory and getting everything moving. Sounds weird though, until you've tried it and gone, oh my God, that was amazing. Yeah, it sounds good.
Where did you get that from?
It's like oldie naturopathic medicine. Yeah, I even think I learned it before naturopathic school. I don't remember. It's also, it's that you can use it for teething, like just upset babies in general. A massage therapist I met once was saying, if you're having a hard time sleeping at night, cool your feet. Take a cool shower, but particularly cool your feet before going to bed. So rather than that, like that hot, I'm going to warm up all my muscles, our body temperature drops when we sleep. I don't know where it originated, but it works. It works really well. It just sounds strange. Inexpensive, and if you have the socks, often the hardest part is finding the 100% wool socks.
Yeah.
That's where the big people have the biggest challenge.
Nice.
Yeah.
Earlier you were chatting about like immune boosting versus modulating. If somebody has an autoimmune condition, what do you think they can do to support their immune system without negatively affecting their condition?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say work with a professional.
Yeah.
Because they may be on like specific medications that are more immunosuppressive and necessary for what they're up against, right? If your joints are being attacked, we don't want to flare anything up. So I'd work with someone who knows the herbs and the natural remedies that are possible, as well as knows the drugs and their potential interactions. I don't think I have a broad sweeping, safe to say statement on that, except that it is possible. Don't lose hope or think that you're hooped. But yeah, sometimes that immunosuppression is absolutely necessary, and we don't want to mess with it. Yeah.
Yes. With COVID and all that's everything that's kind of going on, any specific like silver linings or realizations you've had through it?
Yeah, when sort of looking for that attitude of gratitude, I am very much hoping, for that shift in convalescence being okay again, right? In the olden days in Europe, at least, you're sick, you went to almost like a spa, like it was hydrotherapy, it was rest, it was good nutrition, it was walks in the woods, like let's get over this thing. And now we have this sort of cult of productivity, and I'm busy and I'm never going to slow down. I'm just going to pop a pill and take the SkyTrain and sneeze on everyone and get to the office, and 150 people may get sick, but I'm not missing this. I'm not going to miss my Christmas party. I'm fine. I'm really hoping that will shift, and that, even just with everyone working from home, employers are like, do we need to be paying for office space? Like, this is cool. You're just as productive, and people have a bit more flexibility. So I'm hoping that stays. I would love to see a bit more emphasis at this point on improving planetary health, dietary health. Like, I think we need to take a big step away from the factory farming, the industrial pollution. Like, if that could be a positive side effect, I don't think it's happening yet. But it was nice in April, or interesting in April, to see, the images across Europe, and you're just seeing like the levels of pollution just dropping with the lack of air travel and industries slowing down. Like, this is, I think, breathing and all that stuff all the time is not great for us. So if we want to stay strong and healthy and have strong, healthy kids and grandchildren and descendants down the road, we need to pay more attention to what we're doing to our earth. Because I kind of feel like, in a way, COVID was the Earth's way of saying, I'm going to try and sneeze these people off of here, and give a little shudder and see if we can lose some of this population, because human levels are going up. We're losing flora and fauna, right? I would like to see more of a shift of, okay, well, let's take this lesson and be more mindful of space with each other and keeping our germs to ourselves, and focusing on local food and less carbon footprint. And I haven't seen a lot of chat about that, but that's my hope. we'll see more of a lasting impact. And that's unfortunately where I can see the benefit in it dragging on for years, as exhausting as that is. And I don't want it to happen. I think if we go back to normal now, it'd be too easy to be like, all right, back to the daily grind. Let's do this. Let's just, I'll grab something on the way, as opposed to like, okay, well, if we're going to have this be a lasting impact, then we need to sort of feel the discomfort and find the alternatives and eat closer to home and be more mindful of what we're doing.
Nice.
Amazing.
Love it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're with you on it. Thank you so much for joining us and being here with us today. We really appreciate it. And we really appreciate everything that you do for the health community and just getting that information out there. Awesome. If people wanted to reach out to find you, how can they connect with you?
I have a website at drmirandawiley.com. So DrMirandawiley.com. Instagram, I think it's at Dr. Miranda Wiley. Facebook, it's at Dr. Miranda Wiley. The usual 2020 ways. Everything's online. Normally we'd be hanging out in person, but here we are doing it online. So usual ways. And and you can email me through my website and I can answer questions there. Although again, I do have limitations on what I can say unless I've got a more in-depth history and a consent.
Yeah, and we can add that all to the show notes as well.
Beautiful.
So everyone can find you there. So
I'll send you the warming socks handout too.
Yes, that would be amazing. That's a good
one. But it works.
Yeah, perfect. So if you guys enjoyed meeting Dr. Miranda and learning from her, please check out all of her links. And if you enjoy this podcast, please subscribe and listen to all the others. Thank you so much, Dr. Miranda.
Awesome. Bye, Tyler. Bye, man. Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you guys.
Love you.
We'll hug soon. Bye, guys.
Yes.
Thanks.